The most misunderstood code requirement when installing an iron or aluminum fence around your swimming pool, the 45-inch horizontal rail restriction. Hey everyone, Jason from Iron Fence Shop. Installing a swimming pool in your yard comes with lots of local building code requirements. Surrounding your pool with a fence is included in those building codes. The 45-inch horizontal rail restriction specified in swimming pool code for iron and aluminum fences is by far the one that confuses folks the most. So much so that I felt this one swimming pool code requirement needed its own video. It's often missed or misunderstood during the fence buying process. So today, I wanted to go over what the 45-inch horizontal rail restriction is in relation to choosing an iron or aluminum fence around your pool. It's key to understand this code requirement since it will impact what height and style of iron or aluminum fence you can use to pass your final pool inspection. You don't want to wait until you've spent thousands of dollars on fence materials and installation, only for the fence to fail pool inspection and need to be torn out. If the area you live in doesn't require city inspections for new pools, or you're putting a fence around an existing pool with no city inspection required, it's still a good idea to familiarize yourself with swimming pool code. While your local city may not inspect the pool, you could be held to that code by your HOA, home insurance provider, or the next person that buys your home. Alright, so what is the 45-inch horizontal rail restriction all about? This specific pool code requirement is a secondary code to the overall height requirement of the fence. It is stating that in addition to the minimum fence height requirement, you also need to have the lowest horizontal rail and the next horizontal rail up be at least 45 inches apart. This is so on an open design fence like iron and aluminum, the horizontal rails cannot be used as a step from outside of the pool for children to easily climb the fence. What typically happens is folks see that 4-foot minimum fence height requirement in the code and then breeze right past the 45-inch horizontal rail restriction portion. They then call or email asking us for a 4-foot tall iron fence quote and don't tell us it's going around a pool. What they don't realize is that 45-inch horizontal rail restriction will have an impact on what final height and style of iron or aluminum fence you can use and still meet pool code. And if you don't tell us it's going around a pool, we don't know to ask you about your local code. Here I have one of my 4-foot tall and 5-foot tall classic iron fence panels. Let's say your local pool code requires both a 4-foot tall minimum height and the 45-inch horizontal rail restriction. Our 4-foot tall classic panel meets the minimum height requirement, but if I measure between the rails, we only have 37 inches. So while we might meet the 4-foot height requirement, we fail on the 45-inch horizontal rail spacing requirement. Our 5-foot tall classic panel seems like it might be overkill when the minimum height requirement is 4 feet. But as we just saw, our 4-foot tall classic panel fails inspection due to the rails being less than 45 inches apart. When we measure between the rails of our 5-foot tall classic panel, we get 49 inches. So while we exceed the minimum height requirement, we also meet the 45-inch horizontal rail restriction. So our 5-foot tall classic fence panel would pass inspection. If you want to use an iron or aluminum fence around your pool, be sure to do the following homework for the 45-inch horizontal rail restriction. 1. Get a copy of your local pool code. Look for both the minimum height requirement for the fence and then scan for any mention of 45-inch horizontal rail restrictions. They may not be next to each other in the code. 2. When shopping for a fence around your swimming pool, make sure to mention to your fence provider that it is being bought to meet pool code so we know it has special requirements. 3. If you do have to meet the 45-inch horizontal rail restriction, choose a height and style of iron or aluminum fence that is closest to the minimum height requirement while still having at least a 45-inch space between the lower and next horizontal rail. 4. When in doubt, get a spec profile or CAD rendering of the fence panel and send it to your local inspector for them to sign off on. As I mentioned, the 45-inch horizontal rail restriction is one of many different code requirements when putting an iron or aluminum fence around your swimming pool. Be sure to understand that this is only one aspect of pool code requirements you need to know. Be sure to read over all your local pool code requirements for fence and gates before making a purchase. Hopefully this video has helped show what the 45-inch horizontal rail restriction for iron and aluminum pool fence is all about. Be sure to check us out here at ironfenceshop.com. Want some details on those other pool code requirements when using an iron or aluminum fence around your swimming pool? Check out this video we did. If you have any other questions, you can shoot us an email at sales@ironfenceshop.com or give us a call at 800-261-2729. We look forward to hearing from you.